This talk is about conquering fears. So one thing, it's pretty scary to be up here in front of all these people. But actually, I'm not really afraid of that many things. I do a lot of stupid shit, basically, as like my mom would put it. Here's me in middle school in a mosh pit at a metal show. Here's me skydiving in California. That guy's name is Rocco. That's his real name. Yeah. Here's me and my family at the CN Tower in Toronto. We're all leaning off of the tower. We're all harnessed up. It's actually super safe, but it's such a crazy view of the city. That's me on the left and the rest of my family. When we all smile, you can't tell each other apart. It's like crazy. So I was just on a month-long trip in Mexico in a road trip in a two-door car. And we were there when this hurricane was hitting, and I was like, whatever, it's going to be fine. It actually was fine. It didn't really hit us, but it did really hit the West Coast really bad, but thankfully did not damage us. I swam through this cave thing while I was there without a life vest. That was really stupid because I was so tired at the end. And here's me diving off into another, it's called a cenote. It's like a natural body of water, and I really fucked up that dive. But it was like, you just go for it. You just go for it. And so we have a lot of fears. I don't have, the only like crazy, weird, irrational fear that I have is of cockroaches. I really hate them. But the other thing that really scares me is code, which sounds really weird because we're at a JavaScript conference now, and I code for a living. But, so we're going to go back. We're going to talk about my life. We're going to talk about code and my relationship with it over the years. So here's me as a child. I just wanted to show you that because I look super cute. And, well, we're going to go a little further forward. In elementary school, I was in a GNT program, and they would take us like during school for a couple hours, and we'd play with tangrams, but we also did this thing called Logo, which you basically learn how to program a turtle to move around. Best thing ever, so fun. And like make a rudimentary calculator, things like that. Fast forward a couple more years, this is me in, I think this is 4th or 5th grade, that's me in the middle. That is a dead Playboy bunny shirt, so weird, I know. And I went to this camp called CTY, and oh my God! We have to talk later. And so, so this is a summer camp, and for 3 weeks, you go to a college campus and you stay in dorms, and you take a class Monday to Friday for like a regular work day, but you go to a class. And you get a break in between and stuff, but it's basically school in the summertime. So I did that for 5 years, one of the most amazing experiences of my life, like super formative. And the first year of CTY, I ended up taking a computer science class. I think it was Visual Basic that we learned how to do and learned about computer science. But then somehow I just forgot like all the things I learned in that class, and I didn't realize it was like programming, like as we know it today. Fast forward another couple years, making Zanga layouts. This is not my own. I would not make this, but something equally horrible. So like learning how to like copy and paste HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. I didn't know like really what those things meant. I just copied and pasted things and changed things around, and that's what you do. You kind of fiddle with code, and that's how you learn. But I wasn't really thinking about it as code. I was just thinking about how do I make my site personal to me, my Zanga, writing about my middle school life. I know. So, and I don't know if you remember this font that was really popular. It's like super niche. Like if you were in middle school and you were doing Zanga layouts, like I feel like this was really popular. And so were these weird Photoshop paintbrushes. Yeah, pretty embarrassing. And of course there's MySpace. You can't forget about that. So now we fast forward a couple more years. I'm in college, and freshman year, I have no idea what I'm doing. I just take a lot of random classes. I was like, I'll be a psych major. I'll do American studies. Maybe I'll be a math major. I'll want to do environmental biology because my entire life I've wanted to be a marine biologist, but it never happened. But whatever. Maybe it's never too late. Maybe I'll stop programming. But sophomore year, I was like trying to do a lot of different things, so I decided to take a intro to computer science class. Am I talking a million miles a minute? Probably. started taking a programming class, and I decided, oh, this is what I've been doing all these years, like typing, characters and making things happen. And so I was really excited. I was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna be a programmer. This is gonna be awesome. Java doesn't suck that much, but like I only know that now. But then I was like, oh, this is super cool. I'm coding and stuff like that. So yeah, so the sophomore year, first semester, and that course finished. And I decided to go to a hackathon, just having taken one programming class. And wow, what is happening? Am I stepping on something? After this programming class, I just know how to like do some, make a blackjack game, things like that. And I decided to go to my first hackathon. I didn't know anybody there. I didn't know any of my friends who were going. And so I just kind of showed up and expected the best to happen. And you know what? It did. It kind of turned out well. I actually had a mutual friend that was there, or a friend of a friend who was there, joined his team, and we ended up winning an API-related prize and took home some Amazon gift cards, which was awesome. And here's me then. Also, looking back at all of my pictures from like the years, I look the same, exact same in every single photo. It's crazy, except for the hair. So that happened, and I was really excited, and I was on my way to becoming a programmer. I had internship under my belt the summer after that, and another one after that, the next summer. So junior year happened. Junior year was a little crazy. First semester, I had failed a class. It was artificial intelligence. Really terrible experience. We had to write in Lisp, and I was like, oh, trees and stuff. I can't do that. Because I really liked doing front-end development, so that's kind of like what I liked, but all my programming classes were like, no, learn this theory and learn how to make decision trees because you're going to be using that again. So I was like this in college. It was kind of beginning of senior year, I was just kind of like burnt out, just doing this in the library at like 5 in the morning and just not knowing what to do with my life. I was so effed. I was freaking out, failing my classes, feeling lost. I was like, what am I going to do after college? Like, am I going to be coding forever? Like, computer science doesn't feel like it's the right fit for me. So I just felt fucked all over. So I had to make a decision. I was like, do I continue in this major and have a terrible senior year? Or do I drop down to a concentration, which you can do in my school, and still do computer science like on my degree, but still have a good time? Because college is about having fun also with the sites learning. So I ended up taking a bunch of fun classes that I never would have taken if I hadn't dropped down to concentration. I took a poetry class, postmodern poetry class. You don't really have to know what postmodern poetry is. It's just like postmodern, like weird stuff. I wrote this really awesome gem of a line, push language to the edge of possibility. I have no idea what that means, but I went to college, so it's sounds really, really smart, I know. So, but like that semester I took ballet because I really love dancing. I took this awesome agile development class. I had taken this mobile HCI class where I met Charlie. And this poetry class was pretty cool. I had to write a lot of papers, which I wasn't really used to. I was used to typing code, not really writing real words out into strings of words that make sense together, sort of make sense. So this one poet struck me at the beginning of the course. His name is Clark Coolidge, and he was a poet, but he was also really into rocks. He was really into geology. So he would write poetry that kind of related to his interest in geology. This is sort of like tangential. This is a poem that we read in this class. Just soak it in, ounce code orange, the ohm, trilobites. Makes no sense, but there's a lot of context behind it, which is cool. Trilobites are these like prehistoric animals that are like, you can find fossils of. They look like that. They're kind of scary looking, but yeah. So this guy, he's a poet, but he also loved geology, and so I was like, why can't I, combine code with poetry and do something cool with that? So I went to my last hackathon as a student. It was PennApps. That was like 2014. Cool. Oh my God, that was last year. That is so crazy. It was only last year. And so these were kind of my goals for the app that I wanted to make. Didn't end up really being like that because I'm a front-end developer, so I was like, I don't want to really do back-end, so kind of ignored that part. So I ended up making, with a couple of my friends, something called Exquisite Hues, And the idea behind the poetry that's written in this app is this thing called Exquisite Corpse. And so basically, Exquisite Corpse is a method of making art by which a collection of words or images is collectively assembled, and every collaborator basically follows some set of rules, or are only allowed to see only the end of what the previous person wrote or contributed, per se. Because this is an example of some surrealist painters jamming together to make this weird, I think looks like pencil. Yeah. So really cool things come out of it. It's always kind of weird and almost doesn't make sense, but sometimes makes sense sometimes. Another example of Exquisite Corpse, one of my favorite podcasts, How to Do Everything, did this one episode where they were talking about the Super Bowl, and they were like, let's make a Super Bowl dip, but everyone who contributes only knows the ingredient before them. So like if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's like a dip, it's like usually like 5 cheeses, or it's like guac and like nachos and stuff. And so this is what they came up with. So they started, so there's shredded chicken, jalapenos, cream cheese, grape jelly, extra chunky peanut butter, marshmallow fluff, graham crackers, pretzels and dark chocolate, hot sauce, I don't know how that jump happened, sour cream, ground beef, guacamole, spicy tomato jam, deep fried green beans, jerk chicken, tzatziki, canned fried onions, and topped up pepperoni. So you've got this like crazy Frankenstein where there's like a lot of sweet stuff in the middle and then spice surrounding it. I wouldn't eat that. Would you? Would anyone eat that? No. Oh yeah, weird people in here who would like to eat that. So that is the idea behind Exquisite Corpse. So the stack, we had this elaborate idea at the hackathon where we would do some sentiment analysis on the poetry that was written and like make these Philips Hue lights change color, but it didn't end up happening, and also ended up being like a completely front-end app. That's the really cool thing about Firebase. You can write, it's a data store, and you can kind of query it on the front end, and it updates real time and things like that. So we were able to write it all on the front end, and I wrote some shitty Angular code to go along with that. So after that project, I was just done. I was like, oh, I'm done. I did the project. It works, and I can go home now. And I didn't sleep for 36 hours, whatever. And so that's how I felt about that. But let's backtrack a little bit. So I said I met Charlie in one of my classes. We worked on a project together, and he introduced me to the whole JavaScript scene, of the world, I guess, at this point. So he told me about Empire Node. I went to Empire Node, and I met these two guys there. That's John K. Paul, and Jason Rhodes. They're both awesome, and I wish they were both here. So we met that weekend, and they were both, like, we got along really well, and they're like, Jane, you have to give a talk at my meetup. And it's like, you're just gonna do it. There's no for an answer. Like, I won't take no for an answer. You're just gonna do it. This is John Paul's in my direct messages on Twitter. He's just constantly pinging me hey, when are you gonna do this talk? When are you gonna do this talk? When are you gonna do this talk? And at this point, I wasn't really sure what I was gonna talk about. I think, and then I kind of had an inkling it was going to be, oh, there's Jed in there too. This is a tweet from long time ago. So people were asking me to talk, and because they thought I don't know, I'm loud and obnoxious and kind of funny sometimes maybe. So they're like, you should speak. And I was, thinking about what I should speak, and I was thinking about this previous project, Exquisite Hues. And I was like, okay, I don't feel great about that project because I built it at a hackathon and it looks pretty shitty. So I did this again, where I freaked out and I was just kind of putting myself down and shutting myself I can't do this. I have to rewrite the app. I was building up all these excuses why I couldn't do the talk, and I was supposed to speak at NYC HTML5, which is John Paul's meetup, and there was some hurricane also, but I also backed out, and which is why we had all those. We had that thread of him asking me to talk at his meetup, and so I didn't end up talking at that meetup, but Jason approached me and he said, hey, we met up for Chinese food, and we decided that I would speak at his meetup in Baltimore at Charm City JS. And so I get to that point, and I had sort of started tinkering around with the app because I was kind of like half committed to doing a talk. And so I decided to rewrite it and scrap. So I changed from Express to Happy.js because I'd just gone to another node. What was it? Oh, it was TXJS. And I got to do a node workshop there where I learned Happy. And I was like, oh, I kind of understand middleware now. So that's awesome. So I decided to rewrite it that way. And instead of using Angular, which I didn't really know how to use, and it was a lot of features for what I needed to do for this app, I just switched to just doing vanilla JavaScript, which is what I'm most comfortable with anyway. And yeah, I kind of flip-flopped on the Firebase thing because I was like, I didn't like how I structured the data in the first place. And I was like, okay, maybe I'll rewrite it and do it in Mongo because, well, I was thinking mean stack mentality even though when I was using Angular, but I was like, but I don't want to rewrite that stuff, so I'm just going to keep it with Firebase. So yeah, and Node's awesome. I ended up doing like encryption for the phone numbers that were coming in, and then you can write everything in JavaScript. That's just amazing. And we're at a JavaScript conference, so that's perfect. This is one of the first poems that, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, Brooklyn JS right here. So this is a slide with the first poem that I wrote on it. It says, hi. The message stares back, no sleep, no sleep, no sleep. And this is at 2 in the morning, of course. And this was like 2 days before I had to give that talk. But I was like trying to get everything done and was like on an adrenaline rush. And so that's me. Perfect. That's me at Charm City JS. That was my first ever talk. And it was awesome. And yeah, that's me and me. It's so meta. It's like nested. And here's me speaking at the HTML5 talk meetup. That finally happened. And then I don't have a picture of the Brooklyn JS talk that I did, but Jed had one in his talk, so you saw it. So yeah, that's that. I was like, oh God, awesome. I got to do a talk. I feel pretty good about myself. People liked what I had to say. Cool. And so for some reason, I decided to submit it to JSConf because like, why not? Why not submit it to a conference? And it turns out I actually got selected, which was such, I was just like blown away. I was like, what? And I was in Mexico at this point, and I was like, oh God, I didn't bring my laptop. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a whole month where I like won't be able to work on this. And when I get back, I like start a new job and everything, so I was like freaking out again. I was definitely freaking out, but I couldn't really freak out about it on the trip because I was so busy like traveling. But then I got back. And I'm faced with this task again where I have to write a talk. And I was like, I feel like my app's not good enough. Even though I had talked about it already, I still felt like there was something missing. Like my talk was not worth listening to, nothing worth saying to people. And then I had submitted, the idea was conquering fears. I was like, why'd I do that? I don't know. I felt like kind of weird about my talk idea. And I was like, damn, I'm fucked. I'm really fucked, and I only have like a week to pull this together. But then I just like decided, I'm gonna get my shit together. I sat down in front of the computer, and I just, just like that dive that I was doing. I took a diving class in college too, super fun, and the teacher was always like, you stand up there too long, you're never gonna do it, and you just have to jump. And a lot of people like did their first dives in that class, and it was really cool. And so I sat in front of my computer. And I was like complaining to all my friends, I can't do this, I'm not worthy, and la 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 la. And I just sat down and I just did it. So instead of adding some features that I had wanted to implement, I ended up rewriting the app again. So I knew a little bit more after rewriting it the first time and having like lived my life and learned some stuff along the way at meetups and conferences and stuff. I decided to go back to Express, and because I had added a bunch of Happy plugins that I didn't really know how it worked, and they were just sitting there, and like I just didn't know how anything worked. But now I knew how things worked. It was awesome. That's that. And then I also learned how to deploy it to DigitalOcean, and like even set up a backup and all this stuff, and save the droplet and made a snapshot, which you can do. I didn't realize. So I had that all set up, and I felt pretty cool. This is supposed to play. That's right. That's like one of my favorite gifts of all time. This kid is so funny. So now we're going to go back. So the purpose of this whole thing was to do all these things, write a full stack app, do something creative, actually finish something for once. And it turns out like nothing's actually ever finished because I keep working on it and finding out that I know more things, that I learned more along the way, that I still always have this fear of speaking, but I just like, if I put myself there and I just make myself just do it, I'll just do it. And this is the attitude I have about lots of things in my life. I just like, you can't think about it too much. If you think about it too much, you're gonna freak out like I was doing before. So we're gonna go and do a demo, sort of. I mean, I'm just gonna show you what it is because it's been up for a while. Let's see. We will go there. Awesome. So if you haven't checked it out yet, this is Exquisite Text. This is the About page, but the rules are basically you construct a poem through text messages. If you text, so you can see the last line on exquisitetext.com, so right there, or you could text the word last to see the last line. And based on the last line, you're going to text it something new. So you guys are all probably going to do it at the same time, and so they're all going to be related to the line that's up right now. But that's cool. That's like, I kind of like the serendipitous nature of this app. Like, you never know what's going to come out, especially you don't know who's at the other end. You don't know who else is writing it. So I kind of like that aspect. Oh, super creative. Hey, oh, we're going in. So yeah, so this is still using Firebase, so it updates real time on the front end. And so yeah, I'm going to show, so the first poem was this that I was talking about. No sleep, no sleep, no sleep. Someone during my first talk tried to, do that at the end, which was super cool, but nothing bad happened. And they also exploited the fact that I didn't strip the casing on the word last, so people were texting the word last over and over and over again with a capital L. So that was cool. I like this one just because it rhymes. I'll read it out for you. But can't you just not rhyme? Who has a time? What's up, pretty boy? The milk I drink prefers soy, the kind I drank as a boy. I don't know. So that's like one of the earlier poems. This is back in August. It was really cool that emoji just works. And this was August when this was happening, but the first line is definitely still true. Yeah, and this one has just a cool first line because it's like very alliterative. So I don't know how many of you guys actually like reading poetry, but I kind of nerd out about it sometimes. And there's some really awesome poems in here. Some of them are like, some people really put their emotions into what they write, and it's just one line of, it's just one line of English, and they kind of, sometimes it's not even English, but it's just one line of like how they're feeling at the time, or they are responding to the person before them, and they kind of have a conversation. Like this last one, where is it? There was like a really like long conversation between these two people, but I can't find it again. So if you guys can give me a number between I missed something. Okay, I missed something, but you'll see it in the poem. And then when the poem gets completed, you get a link. I don't know if you get a link to your poem. So that's something that happens sometimes. So if you give me a number from 1 to 150, we can read a random poem. 47. Okay, so like I didn't really implement like a search function very well, so this is just it. That's very simple. All right, fish swim. I actually really like this one. Fish swim, trees grow, men yearn into a state of unknowing, childlike wonder, filled with color and dreams. Another one? We're just keep doing this until I have time out. It's like so much fun. Last night I was like freaking out about this talk, but I started reading all the poems that people wrote, and 149? Actually, I feel like we already saw that one, but. Oh, no, we didn't. Oh, nice. The bacon is dripping. Shrug. Grab a vacuum and clean, and the unicorns are actually horses. So many tabs. Drink some cheese and eat some wine. All right, we have time for one more poem. Number? 127. All right, let's see how this goes. She sold her last seashell and boarded a toy boat, set sail for the Moonrise Kingdom. It's like cute. It's so awesome. And sometimes though I read these poems and sometimes the language is like very sad and someone's like obviously going through some shit and some relationship problems and they're just pouring it out into this poem, and then somehow someone else is responding, and they also have relationship problems going on at the same time, so it's just like a long poem of like, why? It's like pretty sad, but it's also kind of cool that they're using this as a fun way to express their feelings at the time. So it's kind of like a reflection of humankind at any point in time, I like to think. It's kind of a lofty description, but yeah, so that's that. And one more thing. Where am I? Okay, so riffing off of this idea, I had this other idea. I know I was at, I think it was Empire Node or Empire JS, where a bunch of people from Portland were there, and they gave these awesome demos and a talk about creative code. And that's also kind of why I was still stuck on this poetry idea, because like I want to work on more things like that. So we try to start this like creative code meetup in New York. Because summer happened, nothing actually came to fruition, but we're going to try to meet again. I know you're nodding because you were one of the people. And so this is like basically just an idea that I had where you have an exquisite corpse, but with code. So I have this repo set up here. You guys can totally go to that. And right now it's just, I think it's just a terminal like spitting out a bunch, console logging a bunch of random numbers. And so the idea is to just build on top of that and see where all of our collective coding knowledge takes us. So with that, I want to thank JSConf so much for picking me. And my first JSConf was in May, and so I've had 2 JSConfs in 1 year. And I'm so sad that I didn't get to go to all the other ones, but I wasn't a JavaScript programmer then. So, but feeling really blessed to be able to be here and to speak in front of you all. And yes, this is like me in the inside, but I won't actually cry. And see you at PoolConf.